Good recovery is basically just as important as good training and good nutrition. So in this video, I'm going to go through 5 of the most common recovery methods and tell you whether they're actually good or not. So first off is cold water immersion, and you're going to be pretty shocked by what I say about this one. But cold water immersion is actually bad for muscle growth. No, but John, athletes always use cold water. I'll get to that now. But if you just look at muscle growth, it is not a good idea for you to get into cold water every single day. Because in short, to make it simple for you guys to understand, when you build muscle, that involves inflammation. And obviously cold water suppresses inflammation. So if you get in a cold shower or a cold ice tub every single time after you hit a workout, you actually hinder your muscle growth. Now that said, cold water immersion has its place in some cases. The reason some athletes use it is because it's kind of like a short-term recovery method. It alleviates pain. So let's say you had a very hard workout, or in some athletes' cases where they have like 3 or 5 times that they need to perform in a week, whether that's running or lifting weights or whatever, it alleviates pain in the short term, and doing cold water immersions for like a week is not going to damage muscle growth in the long term. So yes, it's kind of like a quick fix to your sore muscles. So if you had a workout or event today and you need to be ready by tomorrow or by the day after that, then it's not a bad idea to get in cold water, alleviate some of that pain, and then you're ready to perform tomorrow or the day after that again. But in the long term, it's not a good idea to get in cold water every single time after a workout. Secondly, we have massages. And surprisingly, this one is also not very good for recovery. Now, this is not going to damage muscle growth, but massaging is also not super good for recovery. It's not really going to do anything specifically for you. Now, yes, massaging has its place in some other areas when it comes to maybe injuries, but we are specifically talking about recovery after you hit the gym or after workouts in general for your fitness and for getting in shape. Not if you had a big injury or something's wrong with your muscles. We're talking about in general. Now, massaging can help with recovery, but only because it's relaxing to you. So if you don't like getting massaged, then it's not a good idea to go for a massage for recovery. Because if this is something that's uncomfortable for you and you don't really feel relaxed while someone's massaging you, then it's not good for recovery. Where if you really like going for a massage and you genuinely relax when you go for a massage, then it's good for recovery. I'll talk about this a bit more later, but in general, doing less is actually better for recovery than doing more. You want to try and remove things, not add a bunch of things. And a good principle to follow is just, if this makes you feel good and if it's really relaxing to you, then it's a good way to recover. For example, simply lying on the couch, watching some Netflix and having your girlfriend just cuddle you or something, that is also a great way to recover because it's genuinely relaxing to you. The act of getting massaged is not that beneficial. It's not physically the fact that your muscles get massaged that's good for recovery. It's just if it's very relaxing to you, then your body actually shuts down and it can recover more properly. Next one is sauna, and this is basically the same as massaging. Sauna on its own is not going to be good for recovery. If you really enjoy sitting in the sauna and it's truly relaxing to you, then it can be good for recovery. But also just realize that this is a very, very small part of recovery. It's not going to make a massive difference. Even if it's super relaxing to you to go to the sauna, yes, you should obviously prioritize your recovery. And if, as I said, it's a very relaxing thing for you to do, and you do that like 3 or 4 times a week, then that can be very good for your recovery, but it's not going to make the world's difference. If you're someone who hates sitting in the sauna, don't do it. There's no massive benefit to sitting in the sauna. Yes, we can go into scientific studies and there's a bunch of different opinions on this, but generally sitting in the sauna is not a massive deal. It's not going to make a big difference in your recovery. So if you don't like doing it, don't do it, because it's not going to be relaxing to you and therefore it's not going to be good for recovery. Now, on a bit of a side trend, some people think that sitting in the sauna is going to help you lose weight. And yes, obviously, if you sit in the sauna for 30 minutes each day and you sweat out 2 liters per session, then you're going to lose weight. And you're even going to look a bit leaner or skinnier because you lost a bunch of water weight, but you're not actually going to lose fat. And then the fourth thing is a deload week. So I've talked about this quite a bit on my Instagram, and I've taken deload weeks many times. A deload week is basically where you give yourself a week of rest. So there's 2 main ways you can take a deload. Either you take off a week completely from the gym where you don't do anything, Or what I always like to do is you go to the gym and you train with like 50 to 60% of your weight. You do your exact same workout, exact same amount of reps, but you just use like 50 to 60% of the weight. So it feels like you're not really training hard. The point of that is not to feel tired after your workout. It's just to keep your body going and really to give your body some time to relax and recover. A good way to think of it is kind of like just giving your body some breathing time to catch up, because you've been training hard for like 6 or 7 or 8 weeks and your body can't really recover properly even with your rest days, and then you just give it like a week to catch up, some breathing space to recover properly, and usually after that week your workouts will feel even better. Now, don't take a deload week every week. That doesn't make sense. Usually it's a minimum of 4 weeks. I like to take a deload week anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks, depending on whether I'm bulking or cutting and how hard I've been training. But you'll feel you reach a point where kind of like your first set in your workout, you already feel like you're at the end of your workout and you're just tired from the get-go and you're not making progress. Then that's usually a good sign to just take a deload week, give your muscles some time to recover, and then the week after that, you feel great again. In your deload week, make sure not to do a bunch of other exercise and exhaust yourself in another way, because then you're defeating the purpose of the deload week. The point is to be relaxed and not push yourself physically, and even also from stress. If you can reduce your stress, that would also be a great thing. Don't change your diet too much, because if you're going to eat a lot more, then you're going to pick up weight. If you're going to eat a lot less, then you're not giving your body enough fuel to recover properly. So kind of just keep your diet the same. If you're in a serious cut, you can give yourself a bit more food throughout your deload week so your body doesn't lose muscle as quickly. And then the fifth thing is sleep. Okay, I want you to think of sleep as your longest and most intense form of recovery. And the thing is, so many people just neglect their sleep. And I can tell you, if you don't sleep properly, you can forget about seeing proper muscle gains and losing fat and just getting in great shape. Obviously, yes, if you train and you eat a good diet and you're sleep deprived, you're still going to see results, but you're hindering yourself so much if you're not getting enough sleep. You can do all of the other things right, have the perfect diet, have the perfect training routine, be consistent, do all of these other things for recovery, but if your sleep is bad, you're still missing out on so much progress. I can't stress how important sleep is. All of these other things can help, like a deload week can help, being relaxed helps, but if your sleep is bad, you won't be able to substitute that with some other form of recovery. So those are the 5 forms of recovery. At the end of the day, as you can see, there aren't really a bunch of small hacks or things you can do for recovery. It's all about doing less instead of doing a bunch of extra things. In an ideal world, and this is what most professional bodybuilders would do that can just spend their entire day on recovering and training, they would train, they would get good nutrition, and then they would relax the rest of the day. So if you think about improving your recovery, just think about how can I make myself as relaxed as possible. Instead of going and doing some fancy massage or doing some fancy workout for recovery, you can just go lie on your couch, watch some Netflix and relax. Obviously, don't eat a bunch of junk food and drink a bunch of alcohol with that. But if you do something that's actually relaxing to you, that is the best way to recover. Or you can just give yourself an extra hour of sleep instead of going for an hour of yoga classes or something like that. So those are 5 of the most common ways people at least think you can recover. As I said, some of these aren't actually even good for recovery. At the end of the day, it's all about relaxing and removing things from your plate instead of adding a bunch of things. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one.